today yet again, and we see that February sales were quite steady for the company. But how should we interpret the trend heading into the March, because it will be a financial year end, and throughout the last couple of months we have seen very strong performance by M&M. But what could be in store for the upcoming months?
Yeah, so we had a strong quarter in February for us. Of course, it's a short month, but from a growth perspective, the SUVs itself for us delivered about 19% year-on-year growth, which is quite strong and outpaced the overall market growth itself. And this driven largely by the strong demand we had across the portfolio. Pretty much every one of our brands is in high demand at this point in time. This post-GST, of course, and then the strength of the brand itself is playing out as well. So going into March, looking forward to a strong quarter, a strong month again, and a strong closure to the year as well. Quite a bit of wedding dates coming up as well, and a couple of nice festives coming up in the end of the month. So looking forward to a strong March.
Okay, looking forward to a strong March. That's the word coming in. But let's also talk about the escalating tensions in West Asia. Do you have any meaningful exposure to this region, either via exports or supply chain dynamics, or any potential impact that you're penciling in from the current geopolitical tensions?
From an exports perspective, we have negligible exposure to the region. So it's not something we worry about. And beyond that, I think it's very early to say the rest of the repercussions. But directly from a product exports perspective, we have very little exposure to the region.
All right, but along with that, Nal, with crude volatility rising, are you seeing early signs of tire or some other crude-linked input cost inflation to kick in? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so we don't see anything immediately for us to react. But of course, we keep a very close watch on commodity costs. Anytime we feel that the situation warrants us to take pricing action and pass on the cost to the customers, we do it, but we are very careful and thoughtful about it. As of now, we've taken a price increase in early Jan, and we are very well covered at this point in time. But again, this is a situation we work very closely with our sourcing team in looking at the commodity costs.
And Mr. Gollagunta, also wanted your thoughts on auto semiconductor or memory chip prices. Has there been any increase in those prices in the recent months?
Yeah, so semiconductor chips, especially memory itself, you look at it, obviously, overall for the industry itself, the prices have gone up. Our focus is largely on ensuring that we have supply and assurance of the memories itself. That's really where we are focused on at this point in time. Otherwise, it's a small component of our overall value chain. Watching it very closely, but our focus and emphasis right now is ensuring continuity of supply.
All right, but along with that, let's talk about some of your recent launches, which I believe are doing very well in the market. What's the demand looking like for XUV 7XO? How is the response versus your expectation? And I also heard that there are already some waiting periods for that. If you can give us, help us with some more color on this. What's the waiting period, or are there any supply constraints right now?
Yeah, very strong demand since we launched the product in early Jan. We started delivering vehicles from mid-Jan or so. And largely very strong demand. Quite a bit of the demand is on the high end of the spectrum, which is the top-end variants that we have. Overall, I would say that most of the variants have reasonable waiting periods of 4 to 6 weeks. The top-end variant, of course, given the very high demand that we have, that has slightly longer waiting time. But we have scaled up our production capacity as well, and we are hoping that that waiting period also starts to come down below 3 months soon.
As per the latest Vahan data, company has also gained market share in the passenger vehicle space. What, as per you, is working well for the company?
Yeah, so like I said, 2 major launches which has happened, which is 7XO on the ICE side and the 9S which we launched, the 7-seater SUV launched in the EV space. Both of them have had very strong reception from a customer base, and that's translating not just in wholesale billing, but also in terms of the Vahan retails that you see. But beyond that, the rest of the portfolio, whether it's Bolero or Scorpio, as well as the existing 3XO product and Thar products, they're doing very well in the market. And so retails are happening, which is the reason why Vahan retails have actually outpaced our wholesale billing growth rate as well. So that's a very good sign that across the portfolio, we have very good traction with customers.
All right, but along with that, the e-SUV market, that is increasingly facing competition. New players are entering with new product launches. How are you balancing your pricing discipline with volume growth? And overall, from the EV side of schemes, how are you looking at the growth? Any growth targets that you have set for yourself?
Yeah, so our primary goal on e-SUVs is the number one revenue market share player from an SUV perspective. That is something we maintained so far this year. That's primarily the target we are driving after. We play largely in the higher end of the spectrum, mid to high end of the spectrum. So for us, the ability to give products with cutting edge features which excite the customers, that's all what we are focused on. Those are customers who are willing to pay that kind of money for the feature set that we're delivering as well. So we don't necessarily pay in a highly competitive compact SUV segment. In a small way we do, but it's not a big part of our portfolio. A major part of our portfolio is in the late teens and the 20 lakh segment as well. So that's really where we're playing.
Okay, so the outlook on the upcoming months looks very positive. That's the word coming in. Mr. Gollagunta, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us here on ET Now. That's the word coming in from the management of M&M and the outlook for the entire auto sector. On that note, we need to slip into a very short break, but don't go anywhere. The management of Purvankara will join us on the other side.